Now for some sample problems. We're given two figures here, and they could be drawn any way we wanted to draw them, but they're drawn in such a way they're somewhat visually correct. Not all of them, but not all the way, but somewhat. And we're given instructions that says, will you please find an x and a y that will make these a parallelogram. So what we need to know is we're given information about the opposite sides, both pairs of opposite sides in this first one here, okay, both pairs of opposite sides. So let's look at a test where if we're given information about both pairs of opposite sides, what can we do with it to determine if it's a parallelogram? Because we're told, hey, find x and y such that those are going to be, this thing is going to be a parallelogram. So, both pairs of opposite sides are parallel? Yeah, that won't work. Both pairs of opposite sides are congruent. We're given information about both pairs of opposite sides. Oh, if we can make x and y equal to something that would make those sides congruent, we got this home free. So let's see what we can do. In order for this to be congruent to this, this right here has to equal 12. So let's do this. 2x minus 2 equals 12. Add 2 to both sides. 2x equals 14. Divide by 2, divide by 2, x equals 7. Okay? So if we make x equal to 7, these will be parallel. 2x, 2 times 7, minus 2 equals 12. So that works. Now, let's look at these two. 2y equals 8. Just divide by 2, divide by 2. We come up with y equals 4. 2 times 4 equals 8. We have found solutions for x and y so that this is a parallelogram. Okay? Now let's look at this one. They want us to find solutions for x and y so that this figure is a parallelogram. And we're talking about degrees, so there must be angles, so let's look at it. Which thing deals with angles? Number one deals with opposite sides. This one deals with opposite sides. This one deals with, oops, here's one. Both pairs of opposite angles are congruent. So if we can make it so that the opposite angles are congruent, this one is congruent, then we're good to go. Okay? So let's play with this. That means that 11x has to equal 55. Well, divide by 11, x equals 5. So we've found an x. Now, how in the world and what do we do with y? There's not really a test, but what do we know about a parallelogram? Two pair of opposite angles are congruent. Well, we got the one pair, but we don't know what this is. Okay? We got to make this something. What do we know here? Consecutive angles are supplementary. Consecutive angles, angles next to each other, are supplementary. So this angle plus this angle has to equal 180. This angle plus this angle has to equal 180. So let's do these two. 5y plus 55 equals 180. Minus 55 minus 55, we get 5y equals, oh, what is that? What? Let's try 125, I believe. Now, divide by 5, divide by 5, we come up with y equals 25. Plug it back in. 125, 5 times 25 equals 125 plus 55 equals 180. Okay? So therefore, we've come up with a value for x and a value for y that would allow this to be a parallelogram. Okay? Got a couple more we want to do before we get finished with this. All right, we've got a couple of more problems here we want to do. Again, we're given these figures and we're given some information about them, and then we're told, hey, would you please find an x and a y that would allow these figures to be parallelograms. So what we're going to do is we're going to look and see what kind of test would allow this to happen. Now let's look at this one a little bit and determine what it is. Basically what we've got here is we've got two parallel lines, or if this is going to be parallelogram, we've got to prove that these are parallel lines in some form or fashion. And what we have here is here's a parallel line, and it's cut by a transversal. Well, if that's cut by a transversal, then we know that this angle and this angle, which are alternate interior angles, would have to be congruent. So this would have to be congruent to this. Well, so we set this equal to that, but that's x and y, that's two unknowns, that doesn't work. Well, then let's look at this. Let's look and see if we're going to prove this is parallelogram. Both pairs of opposite sides have to be parallel, so this side would have to be parallel to this side cut by this transversal. Oh, so that would make this and this angle alternate interior angles, and they would have to be equal. Oh, we set this equal to this. We find x, plug it in here, and then we can go for there. So let's do that. Let's first of all find out what x is. 2x equals 30. Divide by 2, divide by 2, x equals 15. All right? So that's our x. Now let's plug x into here. We've got x equals what? 15. So we're going to use 15 plus y equals 24. Well, let's subtract the 15. Subtract 15. I don't know what I was trying to do there. That goes away. We're left with y equals 9. Lo and behold, if we have a value of 15 for x and a value for 9 for y, that would allow this angle to equal this angle to equal this angle. That would make those prove that this pair of lines were parallel and this pair of lines were parallel, which would satisfy which one of these tests? Number 1, both pairs of opposite sides are parallel. Now let's look at this one over here. We want to prove that this figure here is what? Parallelogram. Great. What does this mean? Well, we know that these two angles are congruent. In order for this thing to be a parallelogram, these two angles are not opposite each other. They're what? They are consecutive. Well, what do we know about consecutive angles of a parallelogram? We know that for a parallelogram, consecutive angles are what? Supplementary. That means these two angles have to be equal, and they also have to be what? Congruent. You understand? They have to be congruent. Let me change this right here to x. They have to be congruent. Okay? So let's make them z and z. So we have 2z, or z plus z equals 180. 2z equals 180. Divided by 2, z equals 90 degrees. So this means this is 90, and this is 90. Oh wow. Let's look at our test about angles. Number 3. Both pairs of opposite angles are congruent. So that means this has to go there and this has to go there. So therefore, 6y equals 90. Divide by 6, divide by 6, y equals 15. This down here, 3x equals 90. Divide by 3, divide by 3, x equals 30. Okay? That's what we've got there. Now, something a little usual been going on. Some of y'all may have noticed my fingernails. No, I did not beat on my fingertips in order to turn them black and blue. The girls' soccer team that I coach, I made them a promise that if they would win, they could paint my fingernails. See, aren't they pretty? So what does that mean? Yeah, they won.